Man, I love those kids heading off to church. Children's church, so good. Hey, question for you. How'd you sleep last night? Wow, you are not selling me on that. How'd you sleep last night? Great. Okay, so you clearly are not patriotic, because in our neighborhood, for some reason, it started last night with firecrackers and bottle rockets and all kinds of things going off, and our dog did not like it all night long. So, hey, but I tell you what, I am ready to celebrate a little bit of July 4th with you, right? We are going to be hot dogging it because Chicago is the world capital for the best hot dogs in America and the world. We're going to do that, and we'll be hitting the pool and the lake and all those things. What is it we're celebrating? We are celebrating something that happened in 1776. In fact, I think we have an artist rendering of this. This is the signing of the Declaration of Independence. You probably knew this. It was actually signed on July 2nd, but got printed and published on July 4th, which is when they started shooting off the fireworks and things like that. And now for more than 200 years, nearly 250, we have been enjoying the celebrations that go with Independence Day. And that's appropriate. It's great. We are the longest surviving democratic republic in the history of the world by God's grace. Another 230 years, 250 years would be fine by me. However, it didn't start out that great. Yeah, 1776 was good, that hot summer in Philadelphia where this all happened. But within 11 years, not only we fought a war with Great Britain to get our freedom, but there had been a rebellion. Anybody here from Kentucky? Anybody from Kentucky? All right, so you led the way. It was Shays' Rebellion, and George Washington, who fought the British, had to turn around and fight the Kentuckians over the tax on whiskey. Well, what do you say, right? And so 11 years, almost to the day later, in the same hot, dusty Philadelphia, from May to November, a second group of men gathered. In fact, I think we have an artist rendering of that. This was called the Constitutional Convention. Here was the question: how do we live as free people? I mean, we've been set free. How is it we live in such a way that we don't ruin that freedom? Well, what are the guidelines for making good decisions about freedom? And that Constitutional Convention survived. That's why we have the red stripes and the white stripes on the flag. That helps us, the 13 stripes, the 13 colonies that approve that. And what the Constitution is for Americans, how do I live as a free person? God's word is for believers. How do we live as those who are newly freed from slavery to sin? How do I live in a way that reflects greatly on the one who set me free? And our series we're in, called Shattering the Algorithm, has been asking and answering this question: how should I think biblically about life's biggest decisions? Let me just recap some of the things we've talked about in the previous weeks as we land the plane on this series today. Our marriages, if we're married. If not, how do I live as a single person? A way that's God-honoring. What's the Constitution that keeps me on the right track to live out my freedom in a God-honoring, joyful way? How about our homes? If God gives them to us, our children. What about our schools? What about the jobs that we have? We've talked about that. We've talked about work and rest. We've talked about all kinds of things related to relationship and neighborhood and all of those things. But here's the thing, right? God's word, it's not a to-do list. There's no way to anticipate all the decisions you're going to face. All the choices we're going to have to make, thousands of them over the series of our lives. And so what God's word lays out for us is a constitution. It's principles that help us make wise decisions. The reason why that's so important in this world is because there is an entire culture that sometimes is arrayed against us. There's an entire culture that sometimes will have very different set of approaches toward answering the question, how do I make decisions about life's biggest how do I make choices about life's biggest decisions? How do I choose wisely for that? In fact, the second week of this series, Pastor Austin kicked it off. Do you remember the thing he said in typical Austin fashion, sort of firing away? He said, God's way is the best way. Boy, Some of you weren't here that week, apparently. Let's put it up on the screen. There it is. All right, let's say it together. God's way is the best way. And so that's where we're going. Because sometimes the message we've received from the world around us, that's not the best way. I said that second week, our politics, religion, news, athletics, education, and commerce have been transformed into show business. And the result is we are a people on the verge of amusing ourselves to death. That was written 40 years ago. It's not gotten better. 5 years ago, a cultural critic wrote, "The technology that connects us also controls us, manipulates us, distracts us, monetizes us, divides us." Every social media platform builds a digital model of you. You are the product they're selling. And if Apple or Google's multi-trillion-dollar valuation is any indication, they're doing a banner business on us. And typically what they're asking us to do is make choices that bring them a little more money. So as God's people, followers of Jesus Christ, who operate from a very different starting point than the world around us, we have to be equipped to think biblically and critically about life's biggest decisions. Over the months or over the weeks of this series, we've done that. And I want to land the plane today by not simply focusing on specific issues, we've dealt with that, but rather with the blessings that accrue to us when we choose to live God's way. In fact, maybe we want to answer the question today as we land the plane in this series this way: why should we live our lives God's way? And God's thunder of approval on that question just now. Why should we live our lives God's way? I'm convinced, there are a lack of reasons that we don't think about the blessings. Maybe we're careful to not be drawn into sort of that prosperity gospel kind of a thinking. But you and I far too often underestimate the blessing God promises to his people when we order our lives according to his way. So let's wrap up the series by talking about the blessings God gives us. When we choose to think biblically, when we're equipped to do that, God blesses us. Let me give you three. It's sort of the outline, three blessings, and then we're going to kind of unpack each one of them from the book of Proverbs. Why should we live our lives God's way? Because we will make better decisions, because we will thrive during tough times, and because we will enjoy God's blessings on our lives. Here is what I wrote last week. The book of Proverbs invites the man or woman who loves God to think, speak, choose, relate, work, budget, and grow in ways that reflect his character and bring his blessing. Let's unpack that a little bit. When I choose to live my life God's way, we'll make better decisions. Proverbs chapter 3. And when we go to Proverbs 3, we're going to really the second series of verses I ever learned as a kid. I remember third grade learning this. I learned Proverbs 3, 1 through 10. We're just going to read Proverbs 3, 3 through 8, or 3 through 10 rather this morning. And so if you have your copy of the scriptures, it's on your device. Join me in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, beginning in verse 3. Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablets of your heart. So you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man. Now, will you say verses 5 and 6 with me? Some of you maybe remember this. Let's say this out loud. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Verse 7 says this: be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord. Turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with new wine. Why should we live God's way? Because we will make better decisions. Derek Kidner, maybe the preeminent Old Testament scholar when it comes to Proverbs, writes this about this book. Proverbs is not a book of manners. In other words, it's not about how to be a nice person. There is no commandment, thou shalt be nice. The book of Proverbs offers a key to all of life, which could be summed up with this question: is this wise or foolish, this decision? Is this wisdom or folly? And wisdom leaves its signature on anything well-made and well-judged. Wisdom is equally at home in the realms of nature, art, ethics, politics, and forms a single basis of judgment for them all. But the book of Proverbs is not just some sort of a success manual that works in every setting. Rather, the book of Proverbs is highly relational. The wisdom here is God-centered. As a heavenly father to his earthly sons and daughters. Even when this wisdom is in its most down-to-earth, it consists in the shrewd and sound handling of one's life in accordance with God's world and his ways. And when we do that, we make better decisions. In fact, I will direct your attention to a couple of Proverbs. We're going to put up there Proverbs 22. Let me read this to you, and then we're going to show the screen. But let me read it first. Proverbs 22, verse 3. This is one that I think speaks to this value of Proverbs 22 and verse 3. The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. As we begin to learn the Proverbs and learn God's will and his ways, we begin to see danger before we run into it. In fact, I love the Message paraphrase, Eugene Peterson paraphrase. Go ahead and put that up there, Kent. A prudent person sees trouble coming and ducks. Like, that's the team I want to be on, because look at the alternative. A simpleton walks in blindly and is clobbered. Some of you know what it's like to face those things in life. Some of your decisions, that was not smart. I mean, you got clobbered. When we learn to choose, order our life God's way, we make better decisions. I'll give you an example of that. Because sometimes we think, well, like the Bible's going to give me every answer for life. Well, it's not. It's going to give you guidelines to help make decisions. I was recently in New Orleans and with a bunch of other pastors and landed at the airport, picked up the rental car, and it's been a while ago now. I made the decision I am not going to become dependent on Google Maps. Any other men in the room say, wow, okay. Let me broaden that. Any other women in the room say, thank you. All right. So here's what I found. I was becoming awfully dependent on Google Maps. The turn-by-turn directions, turn here, turn there. Go 1,000 feet and turn right. What am I, a kindergartner? And how do I know what 1,000 feet is? But So here's what I've taken to do. If I go to new places where I'm not familiar, and New Orleans would certainly have been that for me, when I got the car, I looked on my phone, I looked at the maps, and I just sort of got a lay of the land. North is that way, south is that way, the river's over there. Let's go. And it took a little longer at times, and it was a little more adventuresome at times, but I began to get a lay of the land. In fact, so much so that the second day there, picked up some friends, he and his wife, and we went out to dinner. And on the way back, now he's staying at a hotel right downtown. The way back, there are a lot of one-way streets. I'm driving, and he's like, all right, you want me to get the map out? And what did I say? No, I got this. That's what I said. He's like, come on. I said, no, I got this. And one of those moments, thank you, Lord, where it worked out right. I'm driving, I take a left turn and another left turn. He says, that's our hotel. How did you know that? Like, well, yeah, What I really got was lucky. I mean, here's the thing. I kind of knew which direction to go. I had to sort of explore it a little bit. You don't want to be dependent on life and somebody telling you every step to take. What Proverbs helps us do is think biblically about those issues. Oh, that's the general direction I need to go. No, don't do that. I'm going to get clobbered if I do that. I react this way with my words. I make this financial decision. That's a danger. Not specific issues, but principles of life. And when you and I grow in our understanding of God's word and his ways, we're going to get clobbered less often. We're going to learn to make better decisions about that. Why should we live our lives God's way? Because we will make better decisions. Proverbs, they are a map. They are not driving directions. So learn them. Live them. Repeat them until they become second nature, and you'll begin to find, oh, I think it's that direction that is the right direction. Second, why should we live our lives God's way? Well, because we're going to make better decisions. Secondly, because we'll thrive during hard times. We'll thrive during hard times. It is never on this fallen world's earth a matter of if, but rather when we're going to face uncertainty, hard times, hardship, disappointment. And when we are thinking and living in a God-honoring way, when our Constitution is clear, we're going to be able to thrive through those things. Proverbs 18, verse 10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. What do I do when the hard times come? I can't tell you specifically because my hard time may be different than yours, but I can tell you this. If you'll run to the Lord for help, you'll find it. It's safe. There are not specific answers for every problem you're going to face. There's just not. There will be hard times, unexpected times. There will be times you didn't see coming. You're going to have to run to the Lord and say, Father, will you help me? Guide me through counsel, through your word, through your spirit, through other men and women that are ahead of me in this. And if you will make those decisions that are God-honoring, you will find it is safe. Now, I don't want to, I don't want to overpromise. It's not to say we're never going to have disappointment or hurt or hardship in life. It's to say that the safest place we're going to be in times of hardship and uncertainty, or it's God's way. And one day, and this is the life of faith, one day that's going to show itself to be true. In the meantime, I trust him for that. And you will find sources of strength you did not know you have. Proverbs 28, verse 1, love that. The wicked flee when no one pursues. Listen, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Come on, you should have said amen or something to that. Yeah, it's good. Give you an example of that didn't work out for me. It's 3 weeks ago now, and I was reading a book. Now, I read books to fall. Some of you, you load up with the chips and salsa, and you regret it in the morning, but you load up with the chips and salsa, or you have a glass of wine, or you got your routine that helps you fall asleep at night. Mine, it's a book. And one of those happy feelings when I fall asleep, drop the book on my chest, I say, okay, it's time to turn out the light and go to sleep. So that's happening. Well, I'd finished this kind of a long book, kind of a slog to get through, and so it's summertime, so I want to read something light. So I decided I'd pick up this novel I've read a few times before. It's kind of a thriller kind of a thing. And the opening scene goes like this. It's in a hospital waiting room, a delivery waiting room, and two husbands are there, and their wives are having children, and it's kind of unique characters. One is a well-regarded baker in this small town, western town. And the other character is a clown. I mean, literally, he's a clown. The circus came to town. His wife went into labor a little early, and he's there with the grease paint, and so there's this very interesting contrast, and right away it grips you because there's a conflict that happens, and two things start this chapter, this book. A storm crashes, thunder rolls, and the door bursts open, and right there you're drawn into this tense novel. Well, I read that about 12:30 at night. I fall asleep. I turn the light off, roll over, and at 1:17 a.m., 2 weeks ago, two things happened. One, thunder crashed. Two, because it was a cool night, we had our windows open, the wind gust blew our door shut, boom, in our bedroom. I leaped up to the edge of the bed, and I said, oh! And Vicky's like, what's wrong? I said, the clown! She's like, what? And then I had to explain to her Yeah, like I'm reading and this. She's like, oh, she rolled over and went back to bed. It took me about 5 minutes to get up the courage to take my Labrador Retriever with me down the hall to see if there was actually a clown somewhere hiding in our house. Good news is there wasn't, but I was not bold as a lion. You're going to be shocked and surprised or set back by some things in life. I mean, unexpected folks are going to show up. Storms are going to brew. Doors are going to be slammed. And even when you're startled, if you will simply run to the Lord, live out your life in honor to Him, it may take a few minutes, but you'll get down the road to see if there are any dangerous clowns nearby. You'll have the boldness of a lion. Why should I live my life God's way? I'm going to make better decisions. I'm going to thrive during hard times. 3, we'll enjoy God's blessing. We'll enjoy God's blessing. We just so underestimate, and I said it prior to this, earlier in the message, we underestimate the blessings that God has for us. And so I want to close the series by focusing on that, the blessings of God, the good things that God promises to those who follow His way. Proverbs chapter 8 is where we're going to go. I want to read this out to you and just see if you can't catch the blessing after blessing after blessing. There's a promise. Now let me just say to you, this is not something guaranteed in this life. Ultimately, everything will be made right. But overall, in the long course of events, when we live our life God's way, blessings follow that. Proverbs chapter 8, it's going to be projected for you. Here, written as an invitation from wisdom herself to God's people. I have counsel and sound wisdom. I have insight. I have strength. I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently find me. Right? Like blessing is not reserved for those who have a certain level of income or education or know all the religious banter or conversation. You go before your Heavenly Father and say, I need help here. And you know what God promises? He'll give it. Wisdom. Look at the next verse. Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, even fine gold, and my yield than choice silver. Meaning, rather than looking at the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and money is the God toward which you are driving and worshiping, rather, serve your Father in heaven, make decisions around finances in a wise way, and as Jesus Himself promised, if you'll seek first the kingdom, the other things will be added to you as well. There are plenty of rich people who would trade every penny for a night's worth of rest or peace or joy. Blessed are those who keep my ways. Talk about the ways of God, the ways of wisdom. Blessed is the one who listens to me. Whoever finds me finds life. And here's that promise again, a blessing, and finds or obtains favor from the Lord. Why should I live my life God's way? Because that's the way of blessing. And I want to close the series by reminding you all of the Proverbs are relational. What do you mean? Well, again, it's not just like a success book you'd see at the airport or at the library or if you go to a bookstore. Well, there's row after row of those. The Proverbs are written to a very specific group of people, those who follow God. Those who are, so much of the language as you heard, that's relational, a father to a son, a father to a daughter, mother to a son, in Proverbs 31. And God relates to us. He's not far off. And so let's close the series by being reminded that the greatest blessing is God Himself. And that God Himself offers the way of wisdom as a path He walks with us. So I want to pray a blessing over you in a moment from Proverbs chapter 3. It's the very passage I read at the beginning of the series. I want to close the series that way. Before I do that, I want to pray with you a prayer of faith. That your Father is a personal being, that God is a relational God. And that distance that we feel, or that sense of uncertainty or not knowing or being lost in life, is a result of sin, of something God never intended us to deal with. But our own choices, the choices of our forefathers and our parents, have cast us into this place of conflict with sin. God's made the way out, the way forward. And it's not an institution or religion as though we have to be a member of this or take this or do this religious thing. Those are wonderful add-ons to a relationship that's already in existence. So join me in prayer, will you, of faith. For some of you, it's new. It's like, wow, I've never heard it put that way. But you need to trust Jesus as Savior and begin to walk with God as Father to live out His way. For some of you, yeah, I've heard this before. Well, it's been a while. Why don't you recommit? Why don't you restate that faith today? For some of us, it's a regular part of our discipline to recommit, to restate our faith in Jesus Christ. So join me in prayer. Will you do that? Bow your heads, close your eyes. Our Father in heaven, thank you so much for your faithfulness to us. For the wisdom of Proverbs that helps us think biblically, critically about the messages we receive, the decisions we make. But Father, all of that begins with the first decision, to trust Jesus Christ, to be adopted into your family by faith. So help us, Lord, to start there. Father, my prayer is for some who this is a first time for them to hear about this and to know that, Lord, I pray that they would trust Jesus Christ, one who is the Son of God, who came to this earth to live and to die and to rise again for our sins. Lord, we believe that. We've trusted Him as Savior, as Lord. Father, for others, that's a decision they made years ago, but they may have found themselves wavering or wandering. Lord, that they today would restate, recommit that faith. And Lord, for those of us who love and trust you and try our best to live in your way, may we always circle back to the foot of the cross and recognize this is where it begins. The way of wisdom, the path of wisdom begins when Jesus Christ died and rose again. We believe that, Lord. We believe it today more than we did before. Help us, Father, to live it out, I pray. And now, Lord, will you grant to these good people the blessings you promise in your word, that we might find good decision-making, thriving in hard times, and the life that is blessed before you. I ask this in Jesus' name, and all God's people agreed by saying, will you stand and receive this blessing over you before we sing a closing prayer, or sing a closing song? Blessed is the one who finds wisdom and the one who gets understanding. For the gain from her is better than from silver. Her profit is better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire compares to her. Long life is in her right hand, and her left hand are riches and honor. All her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are blessed. Let's sing about that now, together as the people of God.